Okay, everybody's turned on. We're ready to go. Welcome. I'm Rick DiClemente. This is Astrology Unplugged. We're mainly an astrology show. Tonight we're going to do a bunch of astrology. And, luckily, you can't see all the things. We type messages to each other. And if you're not on live, you can't see them. And some of them are getting kind of silly. Anyhow, this is coming to you from my website, starself.com out of Pittsburgh. And it's good to have you with us. And we're just a small little group, but you can watch us on YouTube. We've got this is a matter of fact, this is show 203. So you can watch all these different shows on a variety of subjects. Tonight we have a volunteer, Joao, who's here. And I wanted to mention to you, if you'd like to volunteer to be case study on this show, I can't promise you that you'll get on, but you might, especially because the planets decide whether you should be on or not. I'm not taking anybody as a sample charge if you don't have an accurate birth time. It's just too hard. So if you have an accurate birth time, you may want to send me a message at rick@starself.com. That's my email address, rick@starself.com, and I will try to get you on the show. And we use it for you to get a reading, basically, but it's an educational tool for all of us to learn about astrology charts. So Joao's got a really fascinating chart. He's a Cancer, and we'll try to get to him about 9 o'clock. Now, many things are happening. First of which I wanted to mention to you, the planet Eris is so involved now. Eris is a trans-Plutonian dwarf planet. Try that. Trans-Plutonian dwarf planet out beyond Pluto. And Pluto takes 250 years to go around, while Eris takes 540 years to go around, and it's not getting the respect of astrologers yet. But it's in the middle of everything that's going on. And I've been advised to write an article for Mountain Astrologer, but I've just got to get warmed up before I do such a thing, because we are in an Arisian age, because Eris is the planet of chaos, etc. But I wanted to tell you, I was thinking recently, Eris is the planet of let's just start doing what's right. That's what the planets are doing now. So that seems outrageous. Why? Because we've been doing so much wrong for so long. You might call Eris the planet of super political correctness. But Eris just does not put up with things being done wrong. That's what you're seeing globally. But Eris very much with her square to Pluto right now. It's about, look, we've become aware of all these things we've been doing wrong. So let's start to do things right. And there's all kind of people that are, the O word, they're all offended. Okay? All right, everybody's offended. But that's what Eris is about. And I've had many shows on this subject. Now, yes, the big chatter all throughout Astrolands is the coming Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And Jupiter has gone into Aquarius today. Jupiter only stays in a sign for 1 year. So it spent its 1 year in Capricorn. And today it went into Aquarius. And I think the next day or two, Saturn goes in. So they're both going to go into 0 degrees of Aquarius. And everybody thinks that's the age of Aquarius. That's not the age of Aquarius. The ages have nothing to do with where the planets are. I'm not going to confuse you. Secondly, nobody knows when the age of Aquarius is. It certainly wasn't 1967 when the song came out. They don't know if it's now or it's coming later, but we're close to it. And we certainly need the age of Aquarius to come, because Aquarius is about us all working together. So we certainly need it. The ages last over 2,000 years each, and they go backwards. So we were in the age of Aries, and around the time Christ was born, we backed up into the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces lasts about 2,000 years. We've been in the age of Pisces ever since. And now we're getting to the age of Aquarius, which is just starting. And that'll last till the year 4000. So we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to show you, because I get interested in certain degrees of the zodiac, and certain degrees of the zodiac, matter of fact, every degree of the zodiac has a meaning. And the meaning of 1 degree Aquarius, because these 2 planets are 0 something, and when you're looking at the meaning of a degree, you round upward. So Jupiter and Saturn are going to conjunct at Aquarius number 1, the 1st degree of Aquarius. And when I flip my screen to the meaning of the what's called the Sabian symbols, the Sabian symbols are named after a group from the Middle East called the Sabians. The Sabian symbols were given to us in 1927. And the meaning of that 1st degree of Aquarius is, this is what the psychic picked up for that degree in 1927. The rest of this is all translation, but she gave us 360 meanings of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. And Aquarius 1 means an old adobe mission in California. And she goes on to talk about this wonderful book by Linda Hill, which is her marvelous translation of these degree meanings. An old adobe mission in California is a symbol of man's ability to take natural materials from the environment to build something lasting and enduring that protects, sustains, and nourishes the community on every level. That's a marvelous translation. So the oracle of it, the main thing I saw about it, listen to this. This is what that degree means. When these things change, you feel these things. Degrees have meanings because degrees are alive. They're an archetype from God. That degree means spiritual retreats in natural surroundings, finding new areas of work with spirit, creating civilization out of natural elements, hard work to create places of sanctuary, and learning places once revered and now tourist attractions, forging links to new worlds, missions, and missionaries, and bringing faith to the new world. So we see that we've been putting up with Pluto in Capricorn, and then came in Saturn, and then came in Jupiter, and then came in Mars, and then came in Mercury, and we've been overloaded with so much Capricorn the last 12 years. And everybody thinks that all this is going on because Pluto and Saturn have been in Capricorn, but it's not. It's that plus Pluto squaring Aries, which is over in Aries. That's the big stuff. That's why this weird stuff that's going on is just so huge right now. It's the Pluto squared Aries, which right now is exact. And it'll stay exact for at least another year or two. So I think that those first couple of degrees of Aquarius sound very intriguing. Now, Anita, my friend, asked me today, can I come up with a chart for Georgia? And I didn't think I could. So I looked up on Wikipedia and I found the chart for Georgia, which was not very good. It was, I think, the 4th or 5th state in the country, which was interesting. And we're looking at Georgia because of the election of 2 senators coming up on January 5th. So what I did was this. I took the chart of the day that Georgia is admitted to the Union, and I superimposed over top of it. This is it. This is the chart. Okay, let me show you what I did. This is very promising. This is the chart of the state of Georgia. It's born in 1788. This is the chart of coming up on January the 5th, when they vote. And I stopped this chart at 7 p.m., assuming that the vote will be final around 7 p.m. in Georgia. Now, you can see in this birth chart of Georgia, they're a Capricorn state, and they got a T-square to Neptune, which is not very good, which means they're hiding stuff, and which means they're not always up front. So this chart never changes, but when you put the chart outside from just a few weeks from now, January 5th on the outside, look at what you get. Saturn and Jupiter have just entered Aquarius. This is not the 10th house, it's the 11th house. See, this is crooked line here because they're all squeezed into this 10th house. This is the 10th house. They're all squeezed in there. So they draw that crooked line. But you can see that that cusp is 5 degrees. So Saturn and Jupiter are on the cusp of the 11th house. And the 11th house is the Aquarian house. That's all of us working together, groups and organizations. And look at Uranus. Uranus is at 6. So Uranus is squaring those two, 2 and 3 and 6. So what we're seeing here, we're seeing a really wonderful looking, powerful aspect in this chart. Now, I've done a lot of charts like this, putting an event over top of a person's chart, and I must say they're really not promising. They're really hard to do. They're really hard to get right, and most of the time you'll come away disappointed. This chart's very favorable. This chart is very favorable, and you see so much Aquarius in there. Well, what does that mean? It means that the Georgia chart is speaking of tremendous liberation. And I don't think the word liberation works together well with the Republican Party. We would rather have annihilation there. And they've already done it. They've already dissolved anyway. So there's good reason to believe that the January 5th chart foretells us of the people stepping up and voting and bringing everybody together, because that's what Aquarius is. It's let's get everybody together and do this. You see how you learn by looking opposite the zodiac. That's why in this book that we wrote, we did a chapter on the 6 polarities. It's so important in astrology that you understand what's opposite Aquarius. So you got Leo opposite Aquarius. It's really important that you understand the difference between the two, because one is an I and one is a we. That's the basis of that book. Leo is about I create. Look what I did. Aquarius is, look what we did. Look at the power of us together. That's why it's a big deal to understand the polarities. Big deal. So there's favorable looking planets on January 5th. It's not a promise, but it really is favorable looking. We all know what happens with a Republican Senate. Nothing. We all know what could happen with a Democratic Senate. Something favorable to help the people. I might be weird, but I kind of think that the government should be here to help the people. Kind of weird, I know, but I'm a radical like that. Now, I have a chart. They get a challenge. Erica says they get a salary to do nothing. That's exactly right. What have they done? Nothing. Can't even pay their light bill. Okay, I got a chart of somebody. I was on a reading for, I'm not going to mention her name, the last couple of weeks. I'm calling her chart a case study. And this gave me the idea for tonight's subject, multiple types of charts. And I'm doing this woman's chart, and I want to show you what I came across. And it's going to show you how I see things. All right. Now, you have to understand something that's really pretty outrageous. Okay. This is really pretty outrageous. Astrology is the study of what got into you, what came over you. Now, we just don't think about that at all because we're so used to it. But that's an outrageous statement. What came into you? What the hell got into Bill last night? What's been coming over Sally lately? Not John. I don't know how he got himself in. How'd you get yourself in? You're in the waiting room. I don't know. You got it in there somehow. You must have a secret key, but you're certainly welcome. Okay. So what I'm telling you is, see, we just won't give up this ego thing that we think we're in control. We're driving. And we're by ourselves driving. And we're not. And that's how something gets into you. Something comes over you. And astrologers, you see, astrologers don't have the benefit of saying, well, there's something about him that's weird, but I don't know what it is. We know what it is. We look it up. Well, there's something about him and her, and I just don't know what it is. We look it up and we can tell. Not always right, but most of the time. What got into you? We know what got into you. When's it going to peak? When's it going to subside? What's it going to be like? What's the positive? What's the negative? We know those things. That's what the planets do, because the planets aren't doing anything. The planets are symbols that life is doing it. And if life's doing it to you, it's also doing it to the planet. So we read the planet as a clock backward. We retrofit everything by reading the clock backward. That's what it's about. So I'm going to show you a very simple aspect in this lady's chart that became enormous. And the reason I'm doing this is, here's why. A lot of astrologers do lots of far out things. They do asteroids, they do midpoints, they do mansions, they do these transits, they do these progressions. I mean, there's all kind of stuff. You've seen it in their writings, and you look at their writings and your eyes turn gray because you can't make any sense out of it. Just so much stuff. But my particular ability and my particular interest is I like to know what's going on with you so I can help, period. And I don't need to know what your little toe is doing or what your French ministry relative did in the 1100s. I don't need that stuff. I'm right here with you now. What's going on? What are you living with? What's coming over you? Do you understand it? Maybe I give you a different way of looking at it. That's what I do. What's your story? That's what I do. What's your story? And I don't try to pull it out of my mouth and pull it out of my ear. I try to bring out the symbol. Then I talk to you. What do you think? We go back and forth. And then we go, oh, okay, this is what's happening. Because the people know what's going over them. They feel it. Now, in the 1940s, they didn't feel it. 1930s, they didn't feel it because they were numb. Most people were numb to the energies. They were numb psychically. They didn't feel these things. Talk to somebody and Leave It to Beaver and talk to them in the 50s about what's going over them. You know, they don't know what the hell you mean. But we become more and more conscious. So that's the phenomenal thing about astrology. And what's unbelievable is so few people are using it. So few people are using it because it's so difficult. It's really easy to get wrong. And it's just real easy to say, oh, they're a bunch of kooks. Oh, yeah? You know who wants to get the chart read first? You know who wants to get in line with me first? Or the people that say they're a bunch of kooks. They want their chart read first. I don't blame them. So let's go look at mystery element number 1. Okay, I'm calling a case study. Okay. Now, I was really amazed when I was doing this chart because it kept unfolding. It just kept unfolding as I was reading. So this person is a Scorpio. She's a 4th house Scorpio. Okay. She's born near midnight, which is why the sun's near the bottom. The moon is in Capricorn. This is a rather serious combination of a sun in Scorpio and a moon in Capricorn. Right near the top of the chart is Chiron and Aries. Chiron is a lot like Virgo. Chiron is a healer. She does happen to work in the health profession, which did not surprise me. Now, remember, I keep telling you, people born, she's born 1976. Everybody born from 1952 to 1989 is born with Chiron opposite Uranus. This is 29. This is 7. This is the symbol of somebody interested in astrology. Because Chiron was discovered 1 year after this lady's birth, 1977, and I have found people with real strong abilities / interest in astrology have really prominently placed Chiron opposite Uranus. It's the thing. Now, she's got Uranus right next to her sun, so she's probably brilliant, and she is. Definitely fourth houseian. Anybody with a lot of fourth house has a lot of Cancer qualities. This woman is not just COVID. This woman wants to stay home. She wants to stay home. She's divorced. She doesn't want to go back out. Doesn't want anybody new. She just wants to stay home. Okay. Nice lady. Very smart. Very successful in her career. So remember, for 37 years, 1952 to 1989, everybody's got Chiron opposite Uranus. It's not because they stood still, it's that they kept pivoting, but they kept staying opposite each other until 1989, which was interesting. And then the Berlin Wall falls, and then this thing started to separate. Okay. The real meaning of Chiron opposite Uranus, which came to us in 77, if you think about it, is alternative types of healing. I'm not going to listen to just my doctor now. I'm going to look for alternative ways. And my God, did they start coming out of the woodwork, all the different types of healers. Believe me, I lived through this. Before 77, there weren't that many people into healing. And man, they came out after 77. Now, if you have this opposition along your angle like this, then it's very prominent that you will be a healer. If it's across the ascendant, like I have it, then you're maybe an astrologer. To have a chart that says you might be an astrologer is pretty darn rare. I got a finger up in the air from Joao, so I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself since you would like to ask a question. You don't want a question?
I was just noting that I have Chiron opposite
Okay.
ascendant and Uranus. That's what I just noted to me.
Yeah, we all do, and I'll be getting to yours for sure. Very good. All right. Now, here's the point. Now, what's going on right now? Pluto and Saturn have been gathering around 24, 25, 26 degrees. She's got a bucket pattern to the moon. Look, this great big bucket, and there's the moon. The moon's a big deal. Plus, she's got a bunch of fourth house. So she's very, 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 very lunar. And Pluto and Saturn and Eris are all sitting on her moon. So that was the main story. Pluto's here, Saturn's been here, Mars has been here, Jupiter's been here just recently, and Eris is up here, squaring it. So this moon's gotten bombarded. So we talked a lot about this, but that's not what I want to talk to you about. That was the main issue. So the next thing I looked at was, where's Uranus? Uranus is up here in the early days of Taurus. In the early days of Taurus. It's been there for 3 years. Uranus is now at 7. It's at 7. Look at her natal Uranus. 7. See, it doesn't look opposite because these planets are squeezing each other. But Uranus is exactly opposite of Uranus. All right. Now, Uranus is a really great thing to study. As a matter of fact, it's the #1 video on all of my hundreds of videos on YouTube, beside the ones on El Trumpe. Okay. Type in on YouTube, type in Rick DiClemente Uranus stages. Rick DiClemente Uranus stages. I took a 90-minute video and I condensed it down to 30 minutes. And it's about Uranus square Uranus at age 21. It's about Uranus opposite Uranus at age 42, midlife crisis. Uranus square Uranus at age 63. It's another midlife crisis. Uranus return, age 84. That's what the video is about. It's about the stages you go through when you're 21, because it's 1/4 of us. Uranus' circle is 84. So every 21 years, Uranus really acts up. What does Uranus do? Uranus wants you to be free. Well, what do you do when you're 21? You want to be free. What do you do when you're 42? Well, you want to be free, but you got to make sure you're doing it right, or else you'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. I didn't really want to divorce her, but I threw her into the water. Now I can't find her. So that video is all about that. And it really has helped a lot of people understand these stages you're going through every 21 years. Because when Uranus gets involved with itself, the question is, am I being myself or am I being restricted? The question really needs to be, am I really being myself and how am I restricting myself? So this woman is in Uranus opposite Uranus. So I talked to her a lot about the midlife crisis. Uranus is halfway around age 42. So a lot of times when I'm doing a reading, somebody's 45, somebody's 48, somebody's 39, I'll start with what happened to you when you just had Uranus or Uranus. I'll start my reading with that because that tells me what do they have as far as a sense of liberation. Do they have a sense of themselves? Do they have a sense of blaming everybody else for their problem? What is it? And I'll be glad to tell you, after many years of reading, people are getting better and better and better and sharper. People are saying, I did this to myself, I'm responsible. You're seeing that now everywhere. You didn't see that 5 years ago. You didn't see it 10 years ago. You didn't see it 20 years ago. People are changing collectively. Now, Uranus opposite Uranus is traditional. The man says, the heck with you, and he gets the motorcycle and he goes down Route 66 and he goes to Las Vegas, right? Get some young chick. That's traditional Uranus opposite Uranus, a midpoint, your second childhood. That's not what Uranus wants to do. And I told you the story, I'll tell it again, which is unbelievable. I had a couple here in Pittsburgh. This was a long time ago, probably 17 years ago. The lady says, come to my house. She got a couple kids. She got a goofball husband. Come to my house because my husband's going through something. He's going through Uranus opposite Uranus. He wants to abandon the family so he can ride a motorcycle to Las Vegas and wear shiny glasses and become a state trooper. That's what he wanted to do. Just came out and told me. I said, well, that's just plain idiotic. That's exactly what you don't do, because Uranus is not about, it's about liberation. It's not about, if the other guy's the problem, the boss is the problem, if the wife is the problem, okay, you deal with that. But he just wanted to drop everything, got a couple of little kids running around, and go to Vegas. That's what he did. He left the family. He abandoned them. He went there, he became a state trooper. He got his little shiny glasses. And I wonder how long that left. And I wonder how much better off the family was once he was gone. So that's how you abuse a Uranus transit. To use it correctly, you say 42 years, you say around the 39th year, the 40th year, you say, honey, I'm not feeling right. Maybe we should get some therapy. Maybe I should get some therapy and go to find out your issues. And then at 42, if you're still not happy, then go to Las Vegas. You see the point? So this woman's coming into Uranus opposite Uranus. So not only is she doing that, one's in the 10th house, one's in the 4th house. I'm just showing you how many things are involved in one transit. One's coming out of the 10th house, one's coming out of the 4th. What's that mean? Job, family. Where am I coming from? Where am I going to? What's my background? What's calling me? You see, the top of the chart is your job and career. But for most people it's job and career. But what it really is God calling you home. So I had to start talking to her about it. Do you have a conflict between staying home, going to work? Do you have a conflict between able to do your work at home, able to do your work at the office? You got COVID going on. So we talked and we talked and we talked. And she was very easy. She was very smooth and very bright. And she didn't have a problem. She didn't have a problem. So that's cool. That's fine. So you can see where the question came about. Career versus home, because the natural 10th house versus the natural 4th house. Okay? So we saw that the Uranus opposite Uranus wasn't much of a problem because she dumped her abusive husband. She became free from him. It was valid, he was abusive, but she went through and did the work because as the Uranus gets solved, it's making a square to the moon. And Pluto and Saturn are sitting on her moon. So when Pluto and Saturn are sitting on somebody's moon, you get one of three things. You get somebody who's absolutely devastated because it's just too much pressure on them emotionally. You get somebody who deals with it right. It's ugly, it sucks. You're doing hard work. It's like what's going through the country now. You get hard work, you're weeding out the crappy friends, keeping the good friends. You're getting down to your dark night of the soul and solving it. Or you get the third type of person, which is a kind of a mixture. They don't know what to do, but they're working at it. They don't know what to do, but they're working at it. So this is why I started reading with, oh, you just had Uranus opposite Uranus 2 years ago. What happened? Well, I bought this Winnebago. I don't care about the Winnebago. What happened to you? You wouldn't believe how many times I have to ask that question. I'm not talking about your fence. I'm not talking about the turkey you just cooked. What happened to you? You. Oh, me. And people just, it's unbelievable how people don't have a sense of themselves. They're so identified with the Boy Scouts or with the dance that they just went to or with their job position. They're so identified with the things they do that when you ask them about themselves, they really, I don't know. And you have to really work at it, give them some time to think and give them some time, and then it starts to come out. Now look further. It's just unbelievable, this chart, just from that little aspect. All right. And remember, Pluto's here. Eris is square to the moon. Saturn is here. Mars is here. Jupiter's here. Everything's just bombarding this moon. And the moon is the ruler of what? 12th house. The moon is the ruler of the 12th house because the moon rules the sign Cancer, and Cancer is the sign on the cusp of the 12th house. I'll say that again. All the pressure on the moon is putting great pressure on the 12th house because the sign on the 12th house is Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. That's how you do basic astrology. So when the 12th house is activated, you're talking about the subconscious, the past lives, stuff that's repressed, etc. So I wanted to just throw that by you. Okay, now, here's Miss K's study again. I'm sitting here shocked because John never stays with me for 40 minutes. I'm just stunned here. John's a busy man. He does lots of things. It's my way of saying I'm glad.
I'm glad to be here, Rick. It's always good to hear your wisdom and insights.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Uranus is opposite Uranus. All right. Now, you saw how Uranus is opposite 10th house to 4th house. But, oh, and this is where I work very heavily, and not many astrologers do. And I don't know why, I just got lucky that I latched onto this long ago. All oppositions are relationships. Because what you're examining is the natal Uranus. Uranus is square, Uranus is opposite, Uranus is square again. All oppositions have a 7th house connotation. So when you're examining your natal Uranus, it's not easy to examine your outer planets. The inner planets are much easier. This is your sense of freedom. It's your ability to stay free and detached from things. It's your sense of loyalty. It's your sense of friendship. It's all these Uranian Aquarian things. So when Uranus is opposite Uranus, what comes into play is a healthy person usually says, I'm not putting up with you anymore, all of you, in the sense that I'm not going to let you affect who I am. That's what the seventh house is. So we get all this stuff in these magazines. Dell horoscope, seventh house, marriage. When's he coming? Ooh. The seventh house is the opposite of the first house. The first house is who am I? Seventh house, who am I when I'm with you? Or I got to do it backwards because my camera flips everything around. Okay, here's the first house. Me. Here's Uranus, the seventh house. Who am I? Who am I when I'm with you? Well, when Uranus gets opposite Uranus, it becomes the wrong way to look at it is, I'm getting out of this relationship because you just step on me, hold me back, and you're a pain, you're the problem. That's the wrong way to deal with it. The right way to deal with it is I'm going to be myself and I need to examine what do I do when I'm with people? What have I allowed all my life? And it always goes back to the parents. Because very few kids, listen to this, very few kids are able to be themselves with their parents. It's just very troubling how the parents use the children. I'm going to say it loud. It's very troubling to see how many parents use their children for their own needs. I would say 7 out of 10 in my experience. But anyhow, so when Uranus is opposite Uranus, it's your time because your planets are lining up. What got into Rick? What got into him? He's not taking it anymore. That's what got into him because the planets line up right. And the Uranus is coming through me. It's not out there. It's coming through me and I'm ready. And you all say to yourself, one day, I'm not ready now, but one day I will. Well, the one day is Uranus. This is the planet that hits exactly. Is the planet that hits exactly when it's lined up mathematically. Pluto and stuff might act up a month or two before it's exact. Neptune could be a month or two before it's exact general, but Uranus is precise. It's a radical planet. Things always happen suddenly. It's always explosive. And if you don't use it right, it's just total chaos. It's the Tower card. You tarots out there, it's the Tower card. Everything blows up. It blows up to the degree that you have suppressed yourself. Your life blows up to the degree that you have shown no respect for yourself. And you can't show respect for yourself if you've been brought up in a situation where nobody showed respect for you. So the wonderful children who are brought up with parents that respect them, I mean, these people are breeze to read for because they're in touch with it. It's no big deal. So the Uranus opposite Uranus in this person's chart, she was really doing good work. She was really making it through. She understood the seventh house, and a real proper reaction to the seventh house is I'm going to stay friendly. I want to have friends with people, but I'm no longer going to let you dictate how I feel about myself. Okay. So we saw the wonderful, we see all this going on here. Uranus opposite Uranus. Uranus in the 10th house opposite the 4th house. Uranus in the 10th house exploding. It's exploding the sun Uranus. So the natal sun Uranus, which is a sign of genius, it's like 4 degrees away. That natal sun explodes too, which I guarantee you this woman's laying awake at night with just insight, just bombarding her with clarity. That's what Uranus does. you see people with people like, watch the humor. Watch the humor. Jerry Lewis. Watch the humor. Robin Williams. Watch the humor. Curly. Three Stooges. All three of them very Uranian, very off the wall. They don't even know what's going to hit their body next. It's just crazy, but it's brilliant. It comes out of nowhere. Watch Robin Williams. Just coming through so fast. Those are Uranian people. It can be hard to handle. It can be hard to be around because it's brilliant and it's so quick. It's like a lightning bolt. So, back to the chart. So we know for sure, since Uranus is blowing up here, something's going to happen to her house. Something's going to happen to her home. Something's going to happen to her family. What did she do? She broke off all relationships with her mom and dad during this time. Why? Because they didn't treat her with respect. But see, when Uranus hits, you feel fine about it. You don't feel the guilt. Because you've been waiting and waiting. It's been building and building and building and building. And one day, that's Uranus. I've had it. And she's been sending out messages all along to mom and dad. Mom and dad, don't do this. Don't do this. You're threatening. Boom. Severed. Plus, she's a Scorpio. Okay, another story. All this is going on with one woman. There's a brother or sister in the family. And you've seen this too much. You've seen it where the brother or the sister just keeps being enabled by one of the parents. It goes on to their 30s and it goes on to their 40s, and the rest of the kids in the family have to fend for themselves. Well, I've seen women go near nervous breakdowns, have nervous breakdowns because they can't throw their kid out, but the kid keeps using them. It's awful to watch. Awful. They asked me what to do. You came to me way too late. I understand the kid's karmic situation with you, but what I wanted to say to you is something I've noticed recently. Imagine if the kid keeps bumming from you and you're the mother and it's your child. You don't want to throw him out. You want to keep feeding the money, right? And then that one day comes along, you either have the nervous breakdown or you just throw him out. You say, don't come back. No more. What I've noticed, and this is really something, it's Scorpios that can do this. The Scorpios have the strength to say, no, that's it. And that's a really hard thing to do. I just watched the Libra woman go through this, and it just about killed her. It just about killed her. And the 37-year-old son got moved out, and he's doing okay now, but other things had to happen. But it just about killed this woman. And this woman got really, really sick. Why was she sick? Because she couldn't emote what she wanted to emote. She's feeling what she's feeling, but she can't act on it. It's my baby, but get out. But it's my baby, but get out. But I've noticed Scorpio people that say, there's a door. And one reason for it is fixed water. Back to lesson 1. Scorpio's fixed water sign. So I'm going to stop here and we'll go get to Joao. I'm not calling him John because he said not to do it twice, but it's a hard name for me. Any name with 3 vowels in a row, I'm really confused. Okay, but you see all the intriguing things that happen to one person with one aspect. Now, I want to say one more thing before we leave. When you're being squared by a planet, let's say Saturn squaring your Mars, which is what? Saturn squaring your Mars. I've been too impulsive. Maybe I better learn to put on the brakes. Saturn squaring my Mars. I've been being a little bit too angry. Maybe I need a little more discipline. That's basically what it is. Squares come to you from the bottom or from the top. If it's coming from the bottom, it's coming from the fourth house because you put Mars on the ascendant. Oh, I got the wrong left and right. This is hard to do backward. Saturn squaring Mars from the solar fourth house. Put Mars on the ascendant because that's what's being examined. Or Saturn's coming to you from the solar 10th house. So it's going to come to you from inside, maybe the family, maybe within yourself, maybe something happens in the home, or it's going to come from the job and the boss. Don't forget to do this. This is very, very basic astrology and will really help you a lot. If it's opposite, it's coming from a mate or a friend. If it's up top, it's coming from the job or the newspapers, public. If it's coming from the bottom, it's coming from within. And if it's coming from conjunction over here, then it's definitely coming from within. So that really, really, really will help you a lot. And I use that much more than I look at the houses and the native houses in the chart. Okay. Everybody, let's see, raise 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 fingers as to how much you got out of that. Did you get a little bit? Did you get a lot? 5. She's cheating. She put up 10. Oh my God. Okay, that'll really help. That's very nice. I'm glad, and I do encourage you to go look at that Uranian, Rick DiClemente Uranus stages. It really is informative. Now, yeah, I wanted to mention with Joao. I'll start calling him Bill. Okay. If you would like to have your chart read on the show, send me an email and I will try to do it. I will not do it unless it has a birth time. Please put in your birthday, month, day, year, the time you were born, AM or PM, and what city you were born in. Mail it to rick@starself.com. I'm also here to announce, John, we're getting a brand new website, and it's going to be the same website, only the underpinnings are going to be totally changed.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that nice? And John had a lot to do. John has kind of been my assistant for many years, and things have worked out very well.
Wonderful.
All right, Joao, here's your chart. All right. Let me double check. And I'll tell you, as an astrologer, you should always do this because the worst feeling in the world is to read a chart and you get an hour into it and you realize you got the wrong date or the wrong person. 4th of July, 1980. I'm unmuting you now. I'm asking you to unmute, please.
Okay.
4th of July, fireworks, 1980, 40 years ago.
Mhm.
So he's coming in 40 years. He's coming into the midlife crisis.
Mhm.
1:17 in the afternoon in Rio de Janeiro.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. We got a Cancer, a Scorpio rising, and a great big bucket pattern to the moon. That tells me what? He's not real Cancerian. He's real lunar. I don't care what sign your moon is in. You're very lunar. Okay, what does it mean when somebody's very lunar? They're very much into their mother. They're very much into the family. They want to know their history. They're into their property. They want to know all the traditions of the family. They're usually very sensitive. They're usually very protective. Now you got to kind of cool it with the moon. Don't go too far with the moon when you start to translate because it's so complex. It's just got so many tributaries. Don't go too far. Use a little pencil. So far, so good?
Mhm.
Okay, good. You're going to be surprised what I found in your past life.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we see the moon. Here's Aries. but the moon is really by herself. Okay, she's at the 4th degree of Aries. Now, this is complex. Now already you get complexity because the moon is known for being kind of timid, kind of holding back, kind of hurt easily, but it's in Aries. All right, so this is good. Aries is not timid. Aries doesn't hold back. Aries is a fighter. So in a lot of ways, just early on, this is very good combination. This is very nice because he's tender, etc., etc. But when he's got to fight, he'll fight. He's got to fight, he'll fight. Okay. The sun is up in the 9th house of the student, the teacher. Okay, higher education. What do you do for a living?
I am currently unemployed because of COVID. I have been a professional server for many, many, many years. That's what I was doing. But I studied other things on the side.
Server of food?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
Well, that's very, very Cancerian. Making people comfortable. Let me feed you. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? That's what Cancer say. How do you feel? That's wonderful. Thank God there's one sign that's worried about it in the chart. Certainly isn't coming from Mitch McConnell. How do you feel? I watch a lot of mystery shows on TV because I like to study the crooks and their charts and the victims. And one group of these are narrated by Keith McConnell. Oh, I forget his name. He's a popular narrator. He's Cancer. And I love to watch him because he's, no matter who he's dealing with through the whole crime, he's describing what's going on. He said, well, how did you feel when that happened? Well, how'd you feel here? How'd you feel there? You know, thank God for the wonderful, exquisite Zodiac, because it takes care of us, because all 12 parts of us are, Keith Morrison, are spoken for. Cancer, don't really care what you think. How do you feel? Okay. Now, we got an intriguing chart. He's got Scorpio rising. Now, when you look to the chart ruler, I don't know who made this rule a long time ago, you do not look to Pluto as the ruler of this chart, even though Pluto rules Scorpio. Somebody slipped this rule in sideways at some country club a long time ago. It's Mars. You look at the old-fashioned ruler. So Mars in Virgo is the ruler of this chart. Because Mars is the ruler before 1930 when Pluto was discovered. Okay, so what do we see? We see not only is Mars in Virgo, Mars is next to Saturn, Saturn's next to Jupiter. 3 planets in Virgo. Okay, so I want to tell you something that I've seen an awful lot, okay? A lot of Cancer's houses, a lot of people, real house that they live in, a lot of Cancerian homes, let's just say, are not the neatest homes you've ever been in, okay? It's just not real important to most Cancers. Not this guy. He's got 3 planets in Virgo. Everything's on the shelf. It's in its place. It's right there. It's nice and orderly. Okay, fine. So we know that. Jupiter in Virgo is something will amuse you, I think. I don't know how else to describe Jupiter to people. It's how you expand. How do you do it? So I love to look at people's Jupiter, and it tells me that if I pull up in front of their house with a van with my friends in there screaming, and I open the door and I say, jump in, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to do Jupiter in Virgo. You're going to say, where are we going? What kind of bag do I need to have? What kind of list I got? I got that checklist that you ain't getting in the van. He's holding his mouth. He knows it's true. I got the milk. I got the expiration date checked. It's all right. And everybody in the van's just like, come on, get with it. But we're all happy he's there because we know everything's there, right? True or false? Okay. That's what I found about Jupiter. So when you go forward in life and when you expand, you're really, really prepared. As a matter of fact, you may be too prepared. Now, we start mixing astrology together. Okay. What's the most common problem physically of all the people in the zodiac? What's the most common illness of all the signs of the zodiac? It's Virgos with intestinal problems. Without a doubt. Now, what's Cancer ruled by? Stomach. All right. Now, we got a guy with a double message here that there's problems in the stomach area or the intestinal area. The stomach area is because they get upset and let it stir around. The intestinal area is because they don't let things flow through. So a general advice would be to you physically to just let things flow through. Don't hold on to them. It's very Cancerian to, oh, he hurt my feelings 12 years ago and I'm still upset. Okay. So it's very good to let things go. Okay? This makes sense, Joe?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm really having a good time entertaining Miss Del Sol. She's having a good time. Okay. I told you it was like a show. John's hanging in there pretty good. All right. So we're going to get to your story. Why is he on the air? Why is he on the air tonight? Why is he on the air tonight? As Saturn crosses his nadir, as Jupiter crosses his nadir. Okay, time out. Where's Pluto, Saturn, Aries? 23-24 cardinal. Pluto, Saturn, 23-24 have been bombarding his Mercury, which was retrograde. It's direct by now. Your Mercury's been bombarded. Okay, let's analyze that for a second. Your Mercury in the ninth house has been in Cancer and has been bombarded for the last several years. Mercury in Cancer is a very provincial way of thinking, rather protective borders. Well, that part of you has been blasted apart. You're not thinking that way anymore. Okay? Why? Because a closed, regulated mind does not work. Just doesn't. Your mind's got to become open and sensitive to all things. And who's the psychic in the zodiac? I don't care what people say. The Cancers. Some say Pisces. Cancers are just wonderful mediums, tarot card readers, psychics. They're just really good at it. Okay? Pluto has been bombarding your Mercury. I'm not going to spend much time on this because we're going to spend it all at the bottom. Yes, sir?
The last third hit of this direct opposition between Pluto and Mercury was yesterday morning.
Okay. And it could be today, and your chart could be off by 1 minute.
True.
Or 30 seconds. That's very good. Okay. When your Mercury is being examined, remember, put it on the ascendant. You're examining. It's like a prism that puts Pluto here. What does that mean? That in all my relationships, here's a direct translation. In all my relationships, when I think about them, when I talk to people, when I talk to all the other people in my relationships, I'm tired of getting one-upped. I'm tired of getting overpowered by them. I'm tired of them trying to say I'm stupid. I'm tired of them, blah, 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 whatever it is. I'm not having it anymore. Pluto is the planet that says, I've just had it. Okay? I've just had it. Now, tell me what that means for you in the last couple of years as far as how you've always thought.
I don't even really know how to qualify it. There is a lot that's happened since 2019. That's when I noticed it.
Right.
It was something that happened the exact day that Saturn opposed my sun in January of 2019. That really brought like a big shift. And then this year, I just with losing my job and COVID and all of that, I just jumped into astrology, which has been bombarding my Mercury. And
But in general, what's happened to the way your mind works? That's really changed.
I don't know if it's my mind, but me as a whole, I've lost a few friends this year, like friendships, and it's mainly because I do therapy and this and that and the other. So I'm aware of, like, I look at my part. What is it? What's my part in this? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And all the times I'm looking and I'm bouncing it off different people, like, no, you didn't actually do anything wrong. That person just did you wrong. And
Exactly.
and in the past,
Exactly. And also, it is rather Cancerian to be protective. That's Cancer's instinct. That's why the crab, he goes sideways under the rock. Okay, well, when Pluto's blowing it up, it blows up the rocks too. It means that you're feeling inside, my mind is strong enough. I don't need to be crawling under a rock because this guy is here. I would stand my ground with this person. So we see a stronger self represented through the mind in this past year. Or you've been totally crushed mentally, which I don't think is the case. But do you understand?
yeah.
Okay. Now let's get to the real point. All right. Saturn, Uranus is at the bottom of your chart. Right now. Uranus. Am I correct here?
No, Saturn and Jupiter.
I'm sorry. Saturn and Jupiter.
And Uranus is getting ready to oppose my ascendant.
Yeah.
In June.
Yeah, that's what happens when I try to do things without looking at the chart with my glasses off. Okay. No, nothing's going to. Yeah, it's going to hit your descendant. Uranus is coming here. Okay, that's really major. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to get to that. First of all, right here, Jupiter. You're getting a double whammy, quadruple whammy, because your nadir at 135, it's really early in the sign. So the planet just changes to 0 degrees and everything in Aquarius feels the shock wave. As soon as a planet goes in, the whole sign feels it. Plus, you're sitting in the chair by the door. So you get the doorknob right in the ear. Ow. Okay. Now, fortunately, Jupiter and Saturn are not stressful planets. But let's take a look at what is it hitting. The nadir. This is your home. This is where you've always come from. This is your background. This is mostly your internal nest of taking care of yourself. Jupiter and Saturn coming together, very odd bedfellows, because they do exactly opposite things. Mm-hmm. One expands, one congeals, right? And they work together. It's beautiful. What's happening here? And I really like this. You're hearing it from the mouth of a Capricorn. So this I'm indicating the Saturn voice here today. What have I been doing for a long time to take care of myself emotionally? What has worked? What has not worked? Have I been too extroverted about it and carefree? Have I been too conservative? Well, with Moon and Aries, you tend to just jump. Moon and Aries, you got to watch it. I like it, but it gets you in a lot of trouble because it's so impulsive. But I like it because the main reason I like it is it keeps you from being too timid. What cancers can do. So, what has happened to your emotional nest? Like right now, what's going on?
I'm shocked to be considering moving to a different country. Okay. Canada is my home. I chose to be here, and I've been here for 22 years. Okay. And now I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, but look at 21. At 21, leave the day you left Canada, Uranus square Uranus. So this thought of leaving is because you're not free enough. This thought of leaving is because you will have more elbow room if you leave. It's happening very suddenly and it's very exciting. Those are always Uranian themes. Is that true or false?
If that's how I'm feeling today, that I want more freedom, or
In other words, you will feel more able to be yourself being there than here.
I don't know the answer to that question.
All
I
right.
genuinely
Well, that's
don't.
what's behind it. It's all right. It's okay. Let's move on. Now, one of the things I want to tell you, no matter whether you're in Canada or here, when the nadir gets hit, Saturn, just Saturn hitting the nadir, I could talk for hours about Saturn hitting there, let alone Jupiter there. It's time to repot yourself. That's what this means. It's time to see how you've grown all these years, how the family sees you, and throw it all out. I'm not the old me, and I'm getting a new pot and new soil, and I'm gonna put it into the light and nice water, and I'm gonna get ready because the planets have been coming downward. I'm sorry, planets have been coming downward all these years. Now they're starting to run their way back up. And what is the real concern when you're on the way up is my foundation going to hold? So your concentration now should be on using better cement, using rebar, getting your core, your stability ready to take on a lot of building through the years. It's all going to have to rest on that. See? Now,
Mhm.
included in this, and I see it all the time, it's very intriguing. You're going to really be obsessed with changing your family's perception of you. If there's anybody that keeps wanting to put you back into this hole or into that hole, they got you pigeonholed, you're going to really be insisting on, I want you to see new me. Okay? All right. And what it really is about is not about your family member. It's about you wanting to go back to the comfort of that hole that you're in and really trying to find the bravery to come out of it. Astrology sucks because it always comes back and points at you. You can't get away with nothing. Okay, now here's really intriguing. This is really interesting. I got a couple of things to show you. Don't let me forget to do your past life. Now, what's happening here as Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter starts a 3-year trek through here. 1 year per house, just about. Saturn will be 7 to 8 years, 8 years until it's here. What's happening as planets start to approach the seventh house? Remember, this is the self. This is self plus others. Okay, that's the basic definition in this book. When Uranus crosses here and hits your Chiron, then let's not even talk about the Chiron. When Uranus crosses here later in the year, when did you say it was?
The first time will be in June. It'll be exact when Saturn will be squaring my ascendant as well. I'm gonna get
Okay. That's
just
very good. Because Saturn squaring the ascendant is going to indicate that you've got a balance on you and others. You've got a balance on how you're being. And Uranus hitting that line is about, I'm going to show the world the new me. And when Uranus crosses that line, I've been doing this 42 years. And in the past year, I have been getting more and more away from the seventh house being relationships. It is, but I've been getting more and more into the seventh house is your public persona. You go out and you show the people who you are, and you're not uncomfortable about it. So as Uranus comes to that, you're going to freak people out because Uranus always uncovers something that's been hidden from everybody except you. You've known about it for a long time. You just haven't been ready. And when Uranus comes out, it's like Leave It to Beaver's mother coming down the stairway playing a saxophone. Mrs. Cleaver coming down with the shades on and the hat playing a saxophone. You're like, what the hell happened to this guy? Where'd she come up with that? She's been up there all my time practicing. She's not been ready. So that's what Uranus does. Open a door and I'm ready. So you're getting to that stage, and you should feel this now. you should feel that you're getting really close, that you're going to start showing the world a different self. I don't care if your moon's in Aries or not, you're still a Cancer, and Cancer doesn't open up easily. You see? Now, what do you think about that?
It's exactly that.
Let me
Because
hear
of,
your words.
well, it's just all the studying that I've
What
been
came
doing,
over you?
and I keep I keep having people. Yesterday, somebody messaged me like, I have somebody who wants a reading from you. And I'm like, no, not yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm
What
just
kind of
studying.
reading? What kind of readings do you do?
I've been studying astrology. I want to become a professional astrologer.
Oh, you need at least 3 years in you,
I know.
in my opinion. At
Mhm,
least 3 years.
mhm.
Or if you're really good about saying, I'm not sure about this, but this is what I know about that. Because you got to be very careful when you read for people, because you say 99 good things and one thing is lukewarm, and all they hear is one horrible thing. So you got to be very careful how you say things. Go ahead. I'm so glad. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that but it's a lot of it is related to this move. It's almost, I wanted the sabbatical year this year, and then I lost my job. So like, careful what you wish for, because I was forced into a sabbatical year. And now I'm thinking, like, when things start opening up, like, I want to really go on my sabbatical year.
Well, you've got the ability with that Chiron opposite Uranus. You've got the ability of being a very good astrologer. Um,
And there are
yeah,
other things. And
uh,
there are other things here and there.
other
So
things you might read via.
not other things even that I would read. It's interesting that one of the opportunities that popped up for me in this other country is to work in real estate, which is something that I had considered for a very long
That's
time. And
the
I
moon.
also think
That's
that
the moon.
it ties with the Saturn, Jupiter in the fourth house,
And the moon itself.
the moon. Yeah.
The moon is real estate. Yeah, you'd be very good at that.
But, I
Okay.
used to sing in a different life, and then I stopped, and there are things percolating now. I feel like it's,
What is happening with your parents?
my father passed away 12 years ago, and my mother and I have a really interesting relationship. I'll qualify it as that. And
My least favorite word in the world. Interesting. What sign is she?
he's a Virgo.
I don't blame you. Okay.
He's a Virgo.
It's not
And so in July, she flipped out of nowhere, and we've sort of stopped talking. And she's coming around now, because she's the one who cut me out, and I was like, okay, like that thing that I was just saying, like, I'm not doing this again. And so now she's coming around again, and I'm just like, I'm not doing this right now until you actually want to have a serious, real
You want to know
conversation.
why she flipped out?
Why?
Because Virgos won't allow themselves to have emotions. Here's a Cancer sun who's rich with emotion, and you're doing something wrong because you got all these emotions. I got to find a reason that you're wrong, but she's not, but you're not wrong. She's wrong. And all of a sudden, that tension, Virgos need somebody to come by and give them permission to be themselves. Most of my readings are Virgo women.
Hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful people. But boy, the Virgo men, they really can have it rough with emotions if they don't get off on the right foot, because emotions are messy things and they make you make mistakes. And Virgos don't like either one. Okay. Now, see how a chart shows so many things. I want to go into your past life, and I want to remind you and everybody. Oh, I want to remind people here. Um, if you want to take my free course, I put a free course on this channel last year. I've taught for 32 years, and people kept saying, teach another course, and I'm tired of doing it. So I did one more course for free, and it's out here, 10 weeks of Astrology Unplugged. It's free. You can go week 1 through week 10 at your own pace. I definitely base the course on this book. That's a whole $10. I base it on there because all my teachings are based on that. Just type in Astrology Unplugged beginning course, beginning class. And what I did is I taught 8 weeks and then the COVID hit. So I set 2 weeks aside to talk about COVID as we all freaked out in March. Then I finished with week 9, week 10. But there's no strings. It's out there. Take it anytime you want to, if you would like. Did you take that course?
Not yet. I watched the first class and the beginning of the second,
Okay.
but I will like, okay, let me finish what I'm already doing.
That's
So
right.
otherwise I'm going in different directions.
Yeah, go at your own speed and you can go back and forth. Okay, now I call it the past life chart just because I have it. To me, it's the spiritual transcript chart. It is the chart that tells me of before you took this life, you're sitting with the guides and you're looking back at all your lives and you're reviewing all your life before you take this lifetime. That's what this chart is. And it has proven itself to me of its validity. So let me show you what it says. And I found it very intriguing. In astrology, it's called the 12th harmonic chart. And what that really means is the number 12 lines up with Pisces. And the line up with Pisces is because Pisces is such a spiritual sign. So you take all the placements of your planets and you multiply them by 12 and you put them back on the circle. That's it. And you can have a third harmonic, fourth harmonic. They just allow you to zoom into different things. So this is your 12th harmonic. I have found it indispensable. Now, when I do a reading, I spend a lot of time 12th harmonic beginning chart. Normal natal chart, 12th harmonic. And natal chart's the first harmonic. Multiply it times 1. Okay, here we see the sun. Close to the descendant. The sun has just risen. Okay? That tells me that you have a lot of leonine aspects in your chart. You're very solar. That throughout your history of past lives, you've always been very solar. Me, look what I can do. Now, the sun's in Virgo, which is the opposite. The sun is in Virgo, don't look at me, which is kind of weird. Look at me, but don't look at me. All right, using a pencil. What's this mean? Jupiter and Gemini at the top means I can do lots of things. I love to do lots of things. I'm into this, I'm into that. I can do lots of things. Okay, fine. Jupiter at 19, opposite Saturn at 20, opposite Uranus at 21, 3 planets in Sag. Okay, this is somebody who's into lots of things. He's just into lots of things. He's a jack of many, many trades. The moon is up in Taurus, which is very good, very strongly placed, very steady, strong, emotional nature, but it's opposite Pluto and D-squared of Mars. What's this about? What's this guy's emotional nature? Opposite Pluto, T-squared of Mars. Well, moon opposite Pluto, you've heard many times on this show, is the hardest thing to translate. It's just really complicated. But it has to do with inability to be in a family and have your emotions and have it harmonize with the rest of the family. Oftentimes, it's the mother trying to live vicariously through the son. It can be many, many things. It's very complex. But here's some emotional issue. Go ahead.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay, here's many, many emotional questions here. But what do you do? Here's what's interesting. What did you do all these years when you ran into emotional problems? Well, you tried to intellectualize it, 9th house. You tried to deal with it. But what I really like about this chart is you send all the excess energy to Mars and Aquarius. If you send it to Mars, you just start fighting people. You'd be nasty. You'd be heavy-handed, but it's in Aquarius. So what you do is you go out and just try to have fun with your friends, go into that, try to do things constructive with your friends, do something good for the world. So this is a very healthy Mars. I like this, but Pluto is square to Mars. What does this mean? This is somebody usually who's been forced into the army. They've been forced into hardship. They've been forced to go to jail. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is, but this is not an easy person. This is someone who's had to face hard stuff, but who is very tough. This person's tough. So I would say whenever a planet goes over this Mars, you're in for a real treat. And what are we seeing? Uranus is coming up on the moon. Uranus is going to oppose Pluto. Uranus is going to square Mars. So in about 2 years, when you remember old Rick, remember the Uranus is crossing this T-square, and you'll be starting to get liberated from this, because this represents a lot of your past chains. Now, the most angular planet here is Neptune. It's not the sun, it's Neptune. 8 degrees, 7 degrees. Really close Neptune. In Sag. Neptune is very strong in Sag. It's very spiritual. So what's interesting about this chart is you're very spiritually based. And you like the fact that you have many different theories in your mind. You don't like somebody shoving it down your throat, one particular dogma.
Mm-hmm.
But you keep having this emotional thing that comes from the family. It comes from somewhere. I don't know. This is very difficult. And you have a very healthy way of, when it gets too stressful, you act it out in a way that is rather productive. Now, we see Saturn and Uranus opposite Jupiter. Well, that's really weird because Jupiter, Uranus is really wild. Jupiter, Gemini, Uranus, and Sag is very wild. But Saturn's right there. So it's not wild. It's wild, then it's not. It's wild, then it's not. Okay. So what I come up with is this. When I studied all this today, and it was very complex, there's 2 themes here. The number one thing I think is this. It seems to me by studying the past life chart that you really have a lot of really spiritual things developed, but you keep trying to take your ego with it. You're trying to take the Joao, say it again.
Joao.
You keep trying to take the Joao with you through these spiritual experiences. And Spirit tells you that, you can't go through the eye of the needle, that it's not open for individuals. You only go through the eye of the needle when it's one big us. So I think that's what's happening. And even though Saturn is on the bottom of your chart, and you've run into me tonight on this show and all this, I think it's really clear that you're ready to hear, that you're ready to drop the Joao. Okay, that doesn't mean completely, because dropping the self is a lifelong process, but it means a big chunk of you is going to be dropped. You're not going to be hung up some more on how he's doing. You're getting more interested in how the whole experience of you broadening is happening. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does.
That's what the 12th harmonic does for me. It just shows me the person's story. And there's no guilt here. There's no blame, because everybody's 12th harmonic shows where they seemingly fall short of going back to God, which we all do. So what I'm getting the message of here is, don't worry about it. And what I really need to do, the one thing I think is really necessary, and I don't want to do this all the time, but I really would like to look at your mother's placements without using her name. Just the birthday, if you will. I think this will really help me to look at mom's chart. What's the birthday?
September 17th, 1943.
Okay, we don't need a birth time or a city. Okay, so we want to see what is she really dealing with. Okay, very intriguing. This tells me everything. All right, here's mom. Moon in Taurus, Sun in Virgo, Chiron Venus, so she's really a perfectionist. She's also very dreamy, very dreamy. And this is opposite Eris. But perfectionist, perfectionist, perfectionist. 3 planets in Gemini is where you get it from. A couple planets in Leo. Okay, so the whole issue with mom is mom is trying to get you to behave right because she thinks if she gets you to behave right, that yes, Saturn too. If she can get you to behave right, that she's doing the best thing for you. And it's not the best thing for you. The best thing for you is to just let you be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And what she's really doing is she's trying to get herself in shape. She's really tough on herself.
Mm-hmm.
And what does she do about all that toughness? She goes off on all that Gemini stuff. In other words, this woman just stays busy to stay busy to stay busy. She's running from herself.
Yeah.
And the moon in Taurus lies to her. If you're productive, it'll really be better. If you really get one more widget made today, you'll really be a lot better off. Thing, So the whole point is this. I really think you're at a turning point with her where you can start to see her as an equal person, as two equal adults. And with your Cancer planets, you have to really work at this, but you got to remember she didn't do it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That I
very Cancer. And look at Trump. It's very Cancer. You did this to me. I'll never let you forget. He's taking a whole planet down with him from his 2 Cancer planets. Mark my word. So I think you're really at a good turning point, and I think this old ego thing of you in the past life, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think you're really, what I like about you is you're picking up these freedom vibes and you're ready to go with it. That's hard to do with a Cancer. In astrology, almost every time you get up and you just go with it, you're almost always better off. And boy, some of the people you can't get to let go and go are the Cancers and the Tauruses. Because they just think if they stay stuck, held on, they'll be better off. And it's not always the case. But I think you're in pretty darn good shape. Now, what do you think?
I think I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm surprisingly very grateful for the year I've had. Unemployed, stuck at home studying. It's the best thing that could have happened to me this year. And
God kind of knows what he's doing.
Yep, mysterious ways.
God kind of knows what he's or she's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a really good chart. I'm real happy for you. I don't see much trouble there because what I'm listening for is when something got into you, I know what it is. If it's blue, you should turn blue. If it's yellow, you should turn yellow. And what I'm hearing from you, you're turning colors according to what came through you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good news. So I think you're in good shape, and you can check us out every Thursday if you want, or come back whenever you like. Or you other YouTubers, if you ever want to join us on Thursday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, just go to Google and type in Astrology Unplugged, and it'll give you the link. Now, thank you very much, Joel. Now, just a couple of little things. I'm taking 2 weeks off. Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. I'm taking them both off. I will see you next around January 6th or so, something like that. 7th. January 14th will be Ksenia Moore, the excellent astrologer out of Australia. She's wonderful. She's going to be talking about all the positive, wonderful things of 2021. And then I don't know the exact date, but Linda Veros is going to come back on with us and talk about Reiki and all the Reiki masters in the world, because they're just everywhere. Reiki
That's something I
masters.
forgot to say to you. I am a Reiki master.
And he's a Reiki master, and your brother-in-law is a Reiki master, and your dog is a Reiki master, and they're just everywhere. Everybody, have a good, safe holiday. I'll see you on January 7th. Joao, thank you for being a good sport. Farushka, nice to see you. Everybody else,
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody.
this will be up.
Thanks,
You're
Joelle.
welcome.
Thanks, Rick.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
This will be up on the web in a
Yes.
couple hours. Everybody, thank you. Be safe.
Yes.
Yes.
And have
You
fun and
too.
eat a lot.
Oh, I'm
Bye.
gonna.
Don't drink. Just drive. Don't drink.